Meghan Markle is in a jam. She's twerking because nothing's working, desperately seeking the limelight in the forlorn hope that making headlines will somehow make her money. And as she posts that tacky 4-year-old video of her excruciating mum and dad dancing with not-so-groovy Harry, is that a real baby bump? Or some kind of pillow strapped on just for the cameras? You decide. But either way, it sure looks weird. Wrong shape, strikingly huge. You'd think she was expecting sextuplets, and strangely low slung. Meanwhile, the jigger-jig Duke might as well have worn a sandwich board emblazoned with, "I'm a major league jerk." Never mind, at least the gruesome twosome's quest for privacy is going well. The kind of faux, pretend quest that involves invading their own privacy with monotonous regularity and guaranteed vulgarity. Of course, when the media do it, it's an outrage, an utter disgrace, a reason to furiously fire off yet another fatuous lawsuit. But when California's king and queen of hypocrisy do it, it's charming, it's fun, and most importantly, it's monetizable. So as bemused royal watchers, commentators and columnists scratch their heads wondering why on earth the cavorting couple posted proof that they're a preposterous pair of prats, here's the answer. Cash. Follow the money. Meg's lousy lifestyle site has crashed, burned and sunk into a sea of chaos. Her second podcast series was even more disastrous than the first. And whether or not Netflix makes the mistake of inflicting on an unsuspecting dwindling audience more indigestible helpings of Ms. Markle's TV cooking dross with Love Meghan, no one cares. Which all adds up to a financial void that her ladyship is going to have to fill. An income crisis for a social mountaineering actress who married a British prince she naively presumed would be a billionaire, which, as the man who will never be king, Harry, very much isn't. So, while it's alarmingly clear that the dim Duchess doesn't have a whole lot going on, this much she knows. If she makes a noise, makes the papers and makes people talk about her, something will maybe crop up. That's the fame game, and she's playing it for all she's worth. Here's me twerking, give me a job. But back to her dud podcast, Confessions of a Female Founder, and a surprise extra episode none of us wanted. It starts with Meghan characteristically trying to boast about herself, but her special guest is having none of it, proving that the A-list is way above her pay grade. For the final Dullsville instalment, the hostess with the leastest couldn't get a proper star, but woohoo, did manage to land a proper star's mother. Wow. Step forward, Beyonce's mom, Tina Knowles, the genuinely successful owner of a thriving hair product business. Trashing Meghan's instant sellout of her as-ever foodstuffs and her subsequent failure to restock as annoying, the redoubtable Ms. Knowles asks her, "What do you do next?" Good question. What Meg seems to have done next is announce that she's shelving her entire enterprise to try to, and I quote, work out what as ever could be. And then suddenly, apparently reverse that by posting on Instagram that her Scam Jam, honey, tea, cookie mix and edible flowers are all on sale again. Apart from an ongoing car crash shambles, what exactly is going on here? Is, as she made crystal clear in recent interviews, her Montecito Majesty's as-ever clown show on semi-permanent hold with a view to potentially returning next year to flog clothes? Or is it finished completely? Or is it magically back up and running? Confusing doesn't even begin to cover it. Whatever the truth, this is no way to run a circus. Does the dithering Duchess even have the faintest idea what the hell she's doing? Damned if I do. Meanwhile, here she is again promoting herself on social media with yet more teasing pictures of bits of her children. A moody black and white photo of a theatrically devoted mother cuddling her birthday girl daughter. And, oh my God, you can actually see at least a third of Lilibet's face, including both eyes. How very daring. I can understand how Mrs. Sussex and that odd little husband of hers are keen to protect their kids. But the ludicrous lengths they go to are frankly comical. Once again, though, it's all about their twisted version of privacy. The type of privacy the ridiculous Sussexes demand on their own terms, which isn't really privacy at all. It's a sales technique, selling their family by the dollar. I hope that makes Meghan and Harry happy.
Let's talk about the dreaded pair from Montecito, Meghan and Harry.
My neighbours.
Your neighbours, yeah. I mean, apparently they've been to Disneyland recently. She's going to add hotels and restaurants to her brand. What's this all about?
I think there's no better way to try to bury a tacky twerking video than the wholesome image that is Disneyland, right? Because now you're taking all of the, you're distracting from all the headlines about how low can you go.
Yeah.
With like, look at how cute Lily's birthday cake is. So I do think that what we're seeing is Meghan trying to change public perception with the children by using the children and pushing this mom of the
children
year
who she never wanted to use for publicity, obviously.
Obviously not. No.
So that's changed.
We're not allowed to see them, but for some reason she's still posting them on the internet, which I think I'd love to talk to a psychologist about how if you're a weirdo that is curious, like if that you aren't you enticing people that become obsessed with these types of things by teasing them with just these little bits?
Yeah, because I mean a lot of celebrities just don't put their children out at all. I mean, you know, even I didn't do it, not because I'm a celebrity, but I didn't want pictures of my children on the internet. Now when they're older, they're 18, that's fine. But not when they were 10 or 5 or, you know, when they were little kids. You don't put pictures of them on the internet. You just don't do it.
Right.
Because there's a lot of weird people out there and you never know what's going to happen.
Right.
So for them to do it is really bizarre.
Yeah, I just think you're increasing the chances of attracting somebody that would hide in the bushes or, you know, like just like the inappropriate, the things Prince Harry sits on the BBC and complains about.
Given that he is he's talking about himself as a major target for almost every madman on the planet.
Yes.
You know. Apart from, of course, in southwest London when he's looking for somebody, ringing on doorbells and wondering if they might be in there. What was that all about?
That was so bizarre.
I know.
That was, and it just crushes his entire argument that he's fearing for his life with every step he takes on British soil.
Yes.
It's like, clearly you're not, because this is, we know this is like one of 3 doors you knocked on randomly. So I would say that I mean, the problem with Harry and Meghan is that they constantly contradict themselves. Between Meghan's Disneyland photos, between Harry knocking on strangers' doors, Meghan and Harry campaign to keep children off of social media. They do huge campaigns. They erected, an art installation in New York to keep children off of social media. I do think that Harry would prefer his children not to be on social media, but Meghan's got to make a buck, and that's, I think, why we're seeing more of them.
And he doesn't have much say, does he, by the looks of things? It seems as though he just has to do what he's told.
I mean, the effort he gave in the twerking video is, I feel like, which was low. Let's be honest.
He wasn't doing much, was he?
He was all hands, but weak knees, okay?
It was all that kind of thing, wasn't it? I don't know what that was, but it was not good.
It was like if Thriller, it was like, maybe a little bit of Thriller, maybe a little bit of NSYNC, I don't know. I wasn't into it. But like if he gives at least like that amount, and as far as the marriage is concerned, our decision making is concerned, I think that I doubt he approved of that video going up on the internet. I doubt that he's thrilled that they're posting the children online. And it's like we discussed.
Well, it sort of undermines his argument, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. And if you're trying to help this man that you married establish his own platform away from the British royal family, first of all, please stop using the titles.
Yes.
But if you're trying to do that, then stop undermining him at every turn. Jumping on private jets for your baby shower when he's talking about climate change. I mean, the list goes on and on.
Although the last time he was talking about climate change, he took a plane to China, didn't he?
Yeah, he did do that.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, that's quite a long way away from LA.
Exactly.
As far as you can get. What do the people in America make of that twerking video? What did they say?
I am so glad you asked that, because I saw a piece written over the weekend that said it was being celebrated in the States, that young people were really into it, and that Meghan was glad. She didn't care about the UK's disdain for the video because she won America. cringy. Those are the type of headlines that Page 6, the New York Post. It was all about how gross and cringy
and
that
weird,
video was.
generally.
It's totally weird, absolutely. It's inappropriate, and again, totally. Prince Harry is saying, give us our privacy. We're owed our privacy. Why are we seeing the inside of your hospital room then, right before your baby's born? So yeah, in the States, it was seen. First of all, I had so many royal authors that know some members of the royal family. They're older, they're established, messaging me going, this is fake, right? You shared a fake video. I'm like, this is from Meghan's account. I did not share a fake video. No one could believe it was real. No one understands why she does it unless she is just addicted to that hit.
I think there's a bit of
social
that.
media
I think
hit.
there's a bit of that going on, isn't there?
I do think you're right.
And with the same with the podcasts and the little, you know, the little sort of affectations that she makes, and you know, the kind of the coy stuff with the hands and all of everything that she does seems to be generated for a reason. It doesn't seem natural to me.
No. But I also think that she's under the impression that she's Princess Diana 2.0.
Yeah.
And Diana was notorious for being able to control the media, and Meghan doesn't have the same power. It's almost like it's shamelessness with Meghan. There's no substance.
No, it's straight out there, straight on with the, you know. And meanwhile, can I just take your credit card from you so that I can just make some money?
Would you
from
also
it?
like some loose fruit spread?
Yeah.
Here's a video of my kid. Would you like some loose fruit spread? Actually, no.
Yeah.
No.
Really. And now she's talking about opening restaurants, doing hospitality, maybe hotels.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, you can't be a mean girl and be in the hospitality business.
Right.
Okay. Like, I can't imagine her in the kitchen, or her behind the scenes of a bed and breakfast or a hotel or whatever it is.
Right.
Whoopsh. Can you imagine?
I know.
mean,
well, I said, what happens if you check into one of her hotels? You get an angry email at 5 in the morning, you know, bullying you to get up and to do some work, you know, because that's what she did when she was in Kensington Palace.
Yeah,
obviously.
No. Do you even check out of her hotel? I mean, sometimes.
You mean like Hotel California?
Sometimes
you
it
can
gets
check in, but
a little sinister.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure I'd enjoy it. I mean, but she seems to think that she can do anything, right? And anything that she wants to start up, she can start up. But as I said to you before, she starts a lot of things up then doesn't finish them.
Yeah, I also.
So maybe that would be the hotel that didn't actually get finished.
Yeah,
you know, they're still building it 20 years' time.
Exactly. When it comes, I think she wants it to look like her portfolio is so big.
Yeah.
Here she is dabbling in female hair care.
Right.
She's also invested in this purse company. You can click her affiliate link, buy her clothing, her purses, and she gets a cut of that as well.
Right.
But at the end of the day, she's a podcast host, she's a calligrapher, she's a children's book writer. I think it looks like chaos.
Yeah.
Somebody that might need to be medicated. It's all over the place.
Yeah, it really is. And everything is all about her. Isn't it? The podcast series about other women always tends to be actually about her. Nothing to do with what they do. So she's not selling you. She's sold you on something completely different. When you listen to it, you're like, okay, well, can I actually listen to Beyonce's mom talk about her businesses versus you talking about claiming you're going to cease as ever temporarily to 2 days later post that you're restocking? Yeah.
I mean, completely contradictory.
I mean, in terms of their money, because this is, I suppose, a genuine question now. I mean, he got a lot of money from his mother's trust. So, you know.
And the Queen Mother.
Yeah, and the Queen
on
Mother.
his 40th birthday.
30 or 40 million or something like that. But I guess their lifestyle is so expensive. I mean, I've been told that, you know, just his security detail alone while he's in America is probably costing a couple of million a year, maybe 3. So they'll get through that money, won't they? So they need to keep making it.
Well, they're burning through money, but she also has a great lifestyle. I mean, she is wearing $6,000 coats, and she's always dripping in hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of jewelry.
Yeah.
And I saw one designer say that Meghan purchased the jewelry from her that she wears, that she did not send that to her. So I think that they do have their children are in expensive private schools in the area. Their home, they upkeep on a 16 bathroom house. That's a lot of toilet paper that you got to burn through. And then they do have help. Meghan recently told us she has a nanny, and that's on top of the new court that they're controversial court that they're trying to build to compete with the British royal family. Good luck. It'll never work.
Right.
So they do pay a lot of people to help them navigate this new world.
But it's an expensive way to navigate the world with all of those people, right?
Yes, especially when you don't listen to them and take their advice and bomb with every other project.
Right.
So I do believe that you're correct, that money is the issue. And she says that in one of her podcast interviews. She talks about how she feels guilty about having a lot of money, but she's also worried about the scarcity of it. And that I didn't take away the she feels guilty for having money. What stood out to me about that statement was the scarcity comment, because I've seen that in the Blitz of 2025 with this just perpetual launch of some new project. It seems like it's filled with anxiety, like very anxious. It doesn't seem like
there's no
so
income
many
stream, is there? I mean, there isn't an income. They don't really make money. I mean, they'll do the occasional deal with somebody like Netflix, but that's going to dry up as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that when Prince Harry was in China, I suspect he was paid for that. I think that was a public speaking arrangement. But that's like that gig life that Meghan hated. Meghan hated going from audition to audition. Suits was ending. She was stressed when she met Prince Harry because her role on Suits was wrapping up. And to have to chase a dollar by going and doing these public speaking engagements, she does want a website where she can go to sleep at night and people are all over the world buying things. But are we going to be buying loose fruit spread? I don't think that was the right way to go.
No, and so does she apparently not think it was the right way to go either. So now she's going to do something completely different. So what about back here then? We've got Charles still apparently recovering from cancer, but seemingly doing okay, and trooping the colour this weekend.
Well, there are reports that this is a cancer that he's going to just be living with. Yeah. And the tone we get from the palace is almost the same. Yeah. You know, he's getting treatment. He receives his regular treatments, but he looks happy, healthy, full of energy every time I see him. I can't wait to see him, of course, on Saturday for trooping. We'll get to see everybody on the balcony. Prince Louis will steal the show.
Again.
But unlike Meghan, I don't think he intends to. I think he shows up and he's just himself and he's super cute. We'll see his sister scolding him, telling him to behave, which is always a treat too. And I love seeing Catherine this time last year. We were seeing Catherine for the first time after her cancer battle. So we've now, a year later, we see her completely glowing. She is incredibly healthy, and we've seen much more of her and Prince William recently. So Saturday will be something to look forward to. But as the city of LA burns down, don't worry, Meghan Markle will be accepting an award on Saturday as well.
I hope it's for some humanitarian study.
Is it? Absolutely. Of course. It's for Meghan helping to serve underserved communities. I'd love to know what exactly those are. But her lawyer, her LA lawyer, apparently is on the board of this museum. So that's a convenient connection.
Very nice.
So while the king is being celebrated for his life of service, Meghan is being celebrated for self-service.
Self-service,
Classic.
exactly right. Somebody's actually sent us a tweet earlier saying they expected to see Harry and Meghan at the riots in some way, shape or form, sort of trying to calm everybody down, or maybe hand out some hats.
Well, of course, Prince Harry doesn't want to get deported. Of course.
No, exactly.
They're ISIS. They're his enemies too.
Maybe they're going to come for him one of these days. That would be very funny.
Now, listen, I got into trouble last week, didn't I? Because someone complained that I was belittling you and I was taking the mick out of you, which, of course, I was doing with love and compassion.
I don't mind. Anyone can take the mickey out of me. I fully deserve it. So crack on, David.
Well, crack on indeed. Now, were you at the Derby?
I was indeed, yes.
Yes. How was that?
Well, it was won in brilliant style by Aidan O'Brien. He won his 11th Derby. It was, but unfortunately, sadly, from a royal perspective, it used to be a sort of must-do on the Queen's calendar. She never missed the Derby unless for exceptional circumstances. But unfortunately, yesterday was a royal-free zone, which, for the sort of well-being of the race, it was part of the day. And sort of talking, there's a few royal photographers down there sort of bemoaning the fact that the Derby is losing its place even in the royal family sort of sporting calendar now. Even though the King will see him at Royal Ascot in 10 days' time, and other members of the royal family, the Derby, you know, was an important part of the Queen's sort of summer calendar.
So why is that? Why did the King not attend?
Well, look, he's obviously managing his schedule. He likes racing, but not anything like his mother.
Right.
And I suppose he thinks, well, I'm going to be going 5 days to Royal Ascot if I can.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't know whether he'll do all 5 days of sort of managing his schedule, because it's, you know, given that he's still recovering from cancer, it's going to be all part of, you know, we're never quite sure. But obviously his intention would be to try and be there for the 5 days of the Royal Ascot. But it was a sort of notable sort of admission, you know, sort of missing person was the members of the royal family. So, but a great race. I always enjoy it, but it is a sporting institution that's in a bit of a sort of quandary as to how it sort of continues to engage with the wider sporting public.
Well, it was interesting. Piers Pottinger was with me yesterday, and he was saying, well, of course, it's very wet, so he gave us a tip, and the horse he tipped won.
Lambourne, he must have... yes, well, the reason he would have tipped Lambourne like the soft ground. So well done to Piers. Sadly, I didn't. Mine finished second last, but there we go.
Well, I'll go to him for tips, not you.
Yeah, well, that's right. And, you know, you could have... I'm glad you didn't get me on yesterday morning to give the listeners a horrendous tip.
Yes.
Who ran really badly.
Exactly right. Now... Prince Harry, our favourite character in the royal family, hopes for reconciliation with the King. Are they doomed?
At the moment, they are. Not helped probably by the twerking video and all the stuff that's going on around that. It was a weird decision to put that out. Okay, and the sort of recollection, the story that coming out now is all the fallout about when calling their daughter Lilibet. You know, they originally said, excuse me, that they'd been talking to the Queen, but the Queen said, no one sought my permission to use Lilibet, which was, of course, the Queen's nickname. And reportedly she said, well, they've even taken that away from me now, you know, the one thing that she owned. And then there was sort of, he never wrote about it in his book Spare, so it definitely caused a wider gap. And the problem is they don't trust anything that Harry and Meghan say, you know, in the sense that if they do try and open up the communications, they're pretty sure that it will end up in the wider domain. You know, after the court case, he lost the court case, he goes and does another interview with the BBC and starts saying things like, well, I don't know how long my father's got to live and all this sort of stuff. So they are in a... They would seem to be very isolated from the royal family. They're not only isolated from the royal family. Harry seems to be very isolated from his old friends. So he hasn't even got to sort of use some friends and get some counsel from many of his friends who sort of just got a bit exasperated with him. You know, so I think it's a tough one. And we saw them going to Disneyland. That seemed to be well curated. You know, there didn't seem to be any other members of the public while they were there. So they obviously got Disneyland to give them
yeah, and also she then tweeted to Disneyland, didn't she? So that made me think, well, that was all comped.
Well, I'm pretty sure, and you know, it's, you know, and the way they've done the photographs. Again, whenever you see, look, they are absolutely right if they want to protect the privacy of their children. Yeah. But as I say, we see sort of half pictures of Lilibet and Archie. Yet the one person we always managed most of the time to see a picture of is Meghan. It's all about her. You know, even in the, you know, most times, you know, it's quietly, you know, managed. You know, they obviously had a photographer walking around with them. You know, normally, look, most people...
that's bizarre.
Yeah. Well, that's the whole point. So you look at it, you know, someone filming everything. I know, I've taken my children, we've been to Disneyland, and you get photographs if you go down one of the rides and you can buy and pay.
Yeah.
They definitely were walking around with a photographer to basically capture this special family moment. We all know Disneyland is great for taking children. But, you know, they obviously got the VIP lane with extra bells on.
Yeah. Well, Lilibet got a cake, didn't she? A Little Mermaid cake covered in hues of blue, sugary frosting, while Happy Birthday Lily was written in pink icing.
Well, I wonder, and presumably Meghan had a bag of flower sprinkles with her, and she sprinkled that over them just to elevate that cake even further.
Well, you can never go anywhere without flower sprinkles, Rupert.
No, you can't. Anyway, so, you know, it's been a strange week. I mean, when that video dropped, I just could not believe it. And I thought, you know, the birth one, I thought, why? And yet she's now saying that within her eyes, that the American public loved it. Well, I can't necessarily account for taste of Americans then, even though I'm married.
Just leave
to
it
one.
there. Oh, yes, you are, yes.
Yeah, but she was pretty appalled. But then she has lived in this country for 30-odd years. So the fact of the matter is it just seemed inappropriate. It's not very royal. I don't know why they thought that was, what are they trying to prove by that? And then what it seems to do, it then sort of fires up the conspiracy theorists out there into they go into an absolute meltdown about the whole thing. So, I mean, I don't know what
I
they
heard
want.
she wasn't pregnant, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and you go, oh, it did. And so the whole thing is sort of unedifying.
But who's advising them, Rupert? Because clearly they need a new advisor.
Well, they've got people in this quasi-royal, their royal household, i.e. just an office. Like most people have people who work for them, and of course they can afford. It's not a royal, quasi-royal household. So I think it's not been the greatest week for Harry and Meghan, even by their standards. I don't think. But lovely they go to Disneyland. We've all done it, but then that just looked so controlled, and that they were being taken around sort of everywhere. I'd be very interested to know what other members, there must have been other people there who would have seen them, or were they just whisked around in a sort of private way and kept away from everybody? So, which again, just seems wrong. The whole point of going to Disneyland, you're around everybody, you're watching the parade. It's all part of okay, they obviously might be an element of keeping some people away, but let's see pictures of them with everybody else enjoying Disneyland. And yet, we see this really managed visit around Disneyland. Even that, I hope Lilibet and Archie had a fantastic time and are unaware of all the other stuff. But you just know that Mum and Dad are trying to create another PR feel-good story. But even that has a sort of slight uncomfortable feeling about it.
Prince William, I want to ask the question. Prince William, he made a speech down in Monaco yesterday, his latest tub-thumping oratory about climate change. Save the planet, save the sea, save the ocean. Yes. Charles is just as bad. Gotta save the world, gotta save the climate change emergency. Yeah, mankind is just... Well, they're entitled to their views, these two. The royal family are entitled to their opinions. But I thought the convention was that the royal family, for obvious reasons, doesn't get involved in politics. So you don't have Prince William standing up and saying, I really think the Chancellor of the Exchequer, Rachel Reeves, have made a massive mistake on this winter fuel allowance. She should think again. I can see you can't really have that. These are very influential people. Therefore, we have this sensible system where by common consent they don't talk about politics in public, except if it's climate change. Why is that? Why are they allowed to talk about climate change but no other politics? Here is William from yesterday.
Watching human activity reduce beautiful sea forests to barren deserts at the base of our oceans is simply heartbreaking. For many, it is an urgent wake-up call to just what is going on in our oceans. But it can no longer be a matter of out of sight, out of mind. The need to act to protect our ocean is now in full view. As ever.
And so on and so forth, usual old claptrap. That was actually a couple of days ago in Monaco at the Blue Economy and Finance Forum in Monaco on Sunday. Let's talk to the climate specialist, author, Chris Morrison at the Daily Skeptic. Welcome, Chris.
Hi, Kevin. How are you?
Very well. It is a strange anomaly, isn't it? That it's quite right that our royal family, by convention, don't talk about their political opinions. They're very influential people, and therefore people should be allowed to make up their own minds without the king saying, this is what I think you should think. So that's a good system. Why do you think it is that system breaks down when it comes to climate change? That the king, Prince William, in fact all of them, but the king and William are obsessive tub thumpers on this, that they are allowed to preach to us about their political views about climate change. Why do you think there is that exception?
Well, I would suggest that there's nothing wrong with them talking about science, climate change. The problem is they know nothing about it. And I'm afraid Prince William has been keeping some very bad company recently with that old BBC eco-grifter, Sir David Attenborough, is filling his head with all sorts of nonsense. I recall a programme on the BBC only 2 years ago when he told a BBC audience, sent all the children to bed crying, when he said that the Arctic sea ice would all be gone by 2035. So there'll be swimming galas at the North Pole, if you like. Yeah. He got this from some computer model rubbish that he'd been sort of fed. In fact, if you look at the data, you'll see that from 2007, the Arctic sea ice extent has been on pause. It has not declined over every single month since 2007. And since about 2017, about 10 years ago, it's had a slight increase. Arctic sea ice is cyclical. We've had a high, we had a bit of a low, and now it's in a sort of pause phase. So the problem is that they associate with these people who fill their head with all sorts of nonsense. Prince Charles or King Charles is just as bad, the people he's been talking to. They fill their head with the idea that the science over climate is settled. And so the reason that the climate is settled and the reason they only hear one side of the story is when politics comes into it, because the scientific process has been traduced over the last 30 years in the interest of claiming that it's settled science. Whenever I hear the word settled science, I reach and count the spoons. It's ridiculous. So they've got this idea of settled science, and the reason, of course, is this is where we come into politics. A settled science idea that the world is going to hell in a handcart is portrayed, and of course, sending the children to bed crying, sending mass climate psychosis throughout the world in order to promote a very, very political net zero collectivist economy agenda.
Yeah, exactly right, and that's why I wanted to discuss this with you, because what we're talking about here is politics. It's politics. So we as a society have exempted climate change from the rest of political discourse. The rest of political discourse is, you think that, I think that, up for debate, da-da-da. Get to net zero. I don't think this, and I know you don't think this, but the orthodoxy is, no, there's no need for debate about the climate change emergency and the race to net zero. There's no need for debate about that, because that is a scientific fact. That is written in stone. It isn't. But King Charles and Prince William act as if it is. So they are preaching debatable nonsense to people as if it's fact. And I think that this country, Britain, the Prime Minister, unlikely to do it, but you never know, needs to have a word with these two and say, look, this is politics. You've got to stop doing this. Because basically, what are William and Charles doing at the moment? They are doing that madman, Crazy Ed Miliband, the biggest favour of his life by basically backing him up. Charles undoubtedly believes almost every word that lunatic says. William's not far behind. I think this is a problem, I really do.
Well, Charles, the right Charlie, as I call him, since 2009, said there were 96 months to save the world from imminent climate and ecological collapse. I think it's been at least twice that amount of months since. At the same time, he also said, and this is where politics comes into it, he said that the age of consumerism, the age of convenience is over. Over. You think what that means, to people who for 200 years have used hydrocarbons to pull themselves out of being, quite frankly, serfs on the feudal lands of people like, wait for it, King Charles. So he doesn't really have. He has a very aristocratic way of looking at these things. Doesn't seem to be that keen on consumerism. It doesn't, of course, apply to himself. Mm-hmm. When he became king, he added substantially to his palatial portfolio. He's now got goodness knows how many houses all around the world. He in fact was reported to find himself in club class once. He was on a trip to Hong Kong and he couldn't work out why the seats were so uncomfortable. he thought he was in first class, but the seats were very uncomfortable. He complained for the royal posterior. He was in business class. This man has a fleet of private planes usually to take him around, chauffeur-driven limousines. He's even got his own train, of course. Yeah. So of course this sort of consumerism is not like to sort of stop him. Like a lot of his class, they're kind of appalled by how wealthy people have got, how they have stuff, and all this wasteful consumerism and all this sort of stuff. And So they almost meet in the middle with people like Miliband, who's essentially a sort of neo-Marxist, who doesn't believe in capitalism. So Charles doesn't believe in consumerism. Miliband doesn't believe in capitalism. So they go on really well.
Yeah. So somehow or other, I mean, it's a forlorn project, I would suggest, but somehow or other, I'd like to get it over to them. I don't think they realise. I don't think Charlie or William realise that when they make these speeches about the planet dying in 3 days' time and how we've got to stop consuming anything at all, etc., etc., I don't think they realise that this is flat out serious politics. So I wish someone could convey this to them, that you are breaking the sacred rule of royalty. You are preaching politics to the people, and they should be stopped. But I think that they don't realise it. Like everyone else involved, you know, the people who've swallowed the kind of net zero Kool-Aid, they just think it's a fact. It's a bit like the BBC, isn't it? It was some 10 years ago or something. Wasn't there a memo sent round to all the journalists? We no longer debate the climate change emergency. It is a fact. That is the bedrock of our coverage of climate issues. It is a fact that the planet is dying. It is a fact that mankind is destroying it. So it is this kind of weird orthodoxy that the BBC bought into, and now the royals. That I think this is worrying. I think it's worrying.
Very worrying. I mean, I remember that BBC memo. Franz Unsworth, who was the head of news, said that we don't debate climate change now because it's like we don't debate the final score when the referee whistles blows. It's 3-2. Get over it. You know, it's this is their mindset over science, which is a process of continual investigation and process. They completely banned it at the BBC. It's really quite odd, but it leads into all sorts of peculiar things, because Prince William, again going back to him, he's got this Earthshot Prize, which gives £1 million to 5 times a year to entrepreneurs who, you know, have some idea to sort of save the planet or whatever. So anyway, 5 years ago, they gave it to a company called Coral Vita in the Bahamas. Now, Coral Vita's great idea was, because all the corals are disappearing. They're not, by the way, but we'll come to that. All the corals are disappearing. Then they would incubate them and they would plant them in the sea. So I looked today up at this site. I sort of knew about this. Since they got the prize 4 years ago, they planted 15,000 corals in the sea. Nice sort of job, I would think. Just a sort of job maybe for a sort of gap year, you know, for a sort of a nice, you know, person who's doing a degree and look good on the CV. Anyway, so it's 15,000, which works out at 3,700 plants they're planting a year. So I looked up with them. I asked my friend Mr. Grock to give me an estimate of the number of corals there are in the sea, and a very polite AI program, but it came up with the correct idea that in the Pacific Ocean alone, there's not a lot of work done on this, but there are 500 billion corals. That's 500 billion. So I worked out the percentage of the corals, they're 3,750 annual, compared with the number of corals in the Pacific. And I say that's only a part number. And the answer was, and if you're sitting comfortably, Kevin, I'll start. This is a percentage, 0.00000, still with me?
Yes.
0.0075%.
Thanks, William. You just saved the planet. Thank you so much.
So he has produced 6 zeros, that is, 75%. Contribution, and £1 million has gone down the Swanee.
£1 million down the Swanee. I just wanted to sort of go up to William and Charles and say, look, there are some of us out here. In fact, there's quite a few, you'd be surprised at, who are sceptical about all of this stuff that you have swallowed hook, line and sinker. So I just think we have to do something about it. And by the way, of course, why is Greta Thunberg making a fool of herself in Israel at the moment? It's because some years ago, she confidently predicted that humanity would be dead. All of us destroyed by 2023. So she's reeling from the disappointment that prediction didn't come true. So she's moved on to Free Palestine, Save Gaza. There you have it.
We've had a pretty busy week when it comes to the British royal family. I mean, even tonight, King Charles hanging out with David Beckham yet again, Kate Winslet, and it's just so fun to see King Charles really in his element. I love this new alliance between the king and David Beckham.
Yeah, Sir David Beckham.
Oh, excuse me.
He's not quite knighted, is he, yet? But he's going to be. And you know that the king had a big role in that because they become bosom buddies. They become great mates due to their mutual interest in gardening and horticulture.
I saw some beautiful gardens today at Hampton Court too. So maybe are the gardens just a general royal thing? Are they all obsessed with gardens? I'm into it. I just have a lot to learn.
Well, the king is very obsessed with gardens, always has been. But it's a very British thing, you know, green-fingered Brits. They love their gardens, and both future Sir David, and the king are no exception. I mean, the king's garden at Highgrove, where he lives, is just literally a horticultural work of art. It is stunning, stunning. He's even got this kind of almost medieval chapel that he's built there, especially a kind of homage to the spirits and all that. So it's an amazing garden, and David Beckham and His Majesty have bonded. Unlikely friends, but they've become great friends due to their love of gardening. And Beckham spends all his time down his garden, just digging away and all that kind of stuff. My dad.
It's a nice little replacement for the wayward son, right?
Yeah, I mean, exactly right. Yeah, Harry, you can't see being in the garden too much. My old man, my dad was a keen gardener, and I used to look at him and say, "What do you want to do this for? Why do you want to dig up the mud and mow the lawn?" But lots of British people love it. Lots of Americans do too. So good luck to the King, His Majesty Charles, and of course the future Sir David Beckham. Now let's talk about our friend Meghan first, shall we? It is the trooping of the colour. Trooping the colour. I always make that mistake. Trooping the colour this Saturday, and that's why you come over. You come over once a year to see this incredible ceremony down near Parliament, near Buckingham Palace, where the King presides over this ceremony, which is to officially to celebrate his official birthday. The sovereign of this country, they have their own birthday and then they have their official birthday. So it is his official birthday on Saturday, and he presides over this amazing ceremony. All of his regiments, his soldiers, immaculately turn out. You know, everybody knows what trooping the colour is. Big thing. This time last year, of course, it was when Kate made her first public appearance after launching her brave battle to beat cancer. So there's a remarkable moment last year because she'd been, you know, away from the public eye for about 6 months by the time she came back. This year, King Charles will be not on horseback, he'll be going there by carriage. But, you know, it's an amazing thing. Probably, you know, definitely one of the most important dates in the royal calendar. And guess what Meghan was all set to do? You know what she's like when the British royals do anything, particularly Kate or William, but King Charles as well. When they do something that's going to make the papers, Meghan invariably tries to upstage them. So guess what she was all set to do this weekend? She was going to attend a ball called the Night of Wonder at the Natural History Museum in...
Yeah, we wonder how she got invited.
Yeah, exactly. In Los Angeles, where she was going to receive this bizarre award for services to unserved communities or something. We couldn't quite work out why she's getting it, but she was going to be there. She's going to make an acceptance speech. You know, in all her finery. She would have made the papers. So that was the idea. She does. Last year, when Kate was going to go to Trooping the Colour, she... if you remember, Meghan announced a new range of dog biscuits, which didn't quite get Kate off the front page. This event on Saturday, though, the poor Duchess, the disappointed Duchess, shall not get to go to the ball because the ball has been cancelled because of the Los Angeles riots. So she's going to have to come up with some sort of other way of upstaging the king. What do you imagine she'll come up with, Kinsey?
Maybe she's going to do the hokey pokey on Instagram next time. She's already crossed twerking off the list, but we have the chicken dance left. There's the Macarena. I think that there are plenty of options for dance numbers that Meghan could pursue online. But we actually do know why she was going to be there, Kevin, because her Los Angeles attorney is on the board. This wasn't a recognition that had any true merit. It was, you are who you associate with. It was, you know, friends with benefits, basically. And she was going to get a round of applause and maybe another shiny plaque from the museum and from this room full of people because she has a friend on the board. And again, it would have stolen a lot of headlines. It would have made great headlines for Meghan, and apparently the museum believes this would have been positive press for them. But for $1,500 a pop, you too could sit in a room with Meghan Markle and eat rubber chicken. So it's not like this was like an exclusive event. Really, anybody could go with if they.
15. Yeah, you're right. $1,500 to go to this. $1,500 at her head. Now let's just talk about this award that she would have really revelled in collecting, and then making her oh so modest acceptance speech that probably
about dish soap. About dish soap.
Yeah,
we would have heard about the dish soap again.
And can I just say I'm launching a new range of rosé wine. So this is what she was getting the award for her work, her tireless work. I'm quoting here: her work to advance community well-being and expand opportunity, especially for underserved communities. What the hell does that mean? And what exactly has she done in the field of advancing community well-being and expanding opportunity, especially for underserved communities? What has she done in that area? I haven't noticed a damn thing.
I mean, like, the last time I remember, aside from hanging out at the Palisades fires, which was just kind of a kick, you know, just Meghan chilling out. Like, what was that? Yeah. I remember her going and speaking at the just the girls club. It was like the girls club in Montecito, Santa Barbara area. And remember, she said she was the most bullied person on the internet to all of these children that are actually experiencing severe bullying as children, not this grown woman trying to garner sympathy from all of these little girls in this room. No, you're asking a great question. What is it that they do? These awards mean absolutely nothing, because think back to all of the awards she collected for the Archetypes podcast. I think
Did she get awards for that crap?
I can think of 3 off the top of my head. And one of the reason
But it was rubbish.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That none of this actually makes sense. It's all PR. It's all PR for the award show, the charity. It's all just orchestrated to elevate the cause, which she goes, well, great, I get another plaque or trophy on the mantle in the old office, the home office, where her and Harry sit right across from each other at desks. Yeah. So awkward. But yeah, I think that it just goes to show that the archetypes specifically goes to show how absolutely irrelevant these acknowledgments are, because Archetypes was quickly canceled after her after she collected her last People's Choice Award. And one of the reasons why you don't remember all of these awards is right after collecting one from Gloria Steinem in New York, Prince Harry accused the paparazzi of causing a near catastrophic car chase, which totally stole all of Meghan's thunder for that night and that award.
Exactly right, and she's not going to get any awards for Confessions of a Female Founder either, her latest flop podcast series. But this collecting of these ludicrous awards, it seems to be a hobby of Meghan and Harry, doesn't it? Because who can forget Harry being awarded a Legend of Aviation honour. Why is he a Legend of Aviation? Because all he ever did, I'm not decrying his bravery and fighting in Afghanistan or everything, but flying helicopters in Afghanistan, brave, serving your country, all due credit, but that does not make you a legend of aviation, does it?
No, that is one of the silliest. That's one of the silliest examples we probably have of these two just showing up wherever they're giving away anything that shines in the sunlight.
Yeah.
You know, giving them a pat on the back or a round of applause. So yeah, this is clearly just a PR strategy. They're trying to win the room. I think it's the same with the HRH. The way Meghan secretly sent Jamie Kerlima a gift basket with a signed note that said the compliments of HRH, Duchess of Sussex, Meghan. You know, what Meghan wanted in that moment was for Jamie to take a picture of that and then send it out privately to all of her high-profile friends, bragging. And quietly, this elevates Meghan in this very influential, high-profile group of women. Jamie does hang out with Oprah Winfrey. Jamie is who invited Meghan to that Hamptons event last year, where no one wanted to take a picture with Meghan, all the female entrepreneurs that were there. So they do these little, acknowledgments. They do it so to elevate themselves. They do it as a way of word of mouth to get them in front of other high-profile people, because Meghan is the ultimate networker. I mean, she networked her way to a prince of a husband, and I think that she uses these opportunities to meet new people, and it's under great circumstances because she's getting a round of applause in that room.
Yeah, I mean, this is it, isn't it? When you think about the legend of aviation and now this ludicrous award that Meghan was going to receive, these two would turn up to the opening of an envelope as long as there was an award in it for them, and they embarrassed themselves. The Legend of Aviation award was given to Harry by John Travolta, because John Travolta can fly, is a pilot too. I believe it was at the Beverly Hilton Hotel, but
and John Travolta just loved Harry's mom. This is more of him grifting off of his mother's, amazing legacy. John Travolta had that classic moment dancing at the White House with Princess Diana, and I think he sympathized with Prince Harry because he lost his mother early on. That doesn't justify a nomination or a win for Legend of Aviation. Okay, Travolta, love you in Greece, but we've got to stop. This is where we stop.
Yeah, Saturday Night Fever, you were pretty damn good in that as well, but that was a long, long time ago. What is, Kinsey, I'm putting you on the spot here, what is an underserved community?
I think it's people that want good loose fruit spread because they're clearly underserved.
I say so. What? They're underserved because no one has served them any scam jam.
Yeah, exactly. When I think of underserved community, I think of the woman that lives down the street from Senabale, who complains that she has children that need help, and Senabale and Prince Harry weren't there to help her children. That's what I think of when I think of an underserved community.
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good point. Let's just briefly talk about Prince Harry. As I said, you were very kind to be a guest on my show, What Just Happened, earlier today. By the way, everyone, you've got to watch the show tomorrow night, 9 p.m, right here on Talk, because Kinsey...
If for nothing else, for the outfits.
No, that's about what I'm going to say. Because Kinsey and my other brilliant guest, Samara Gill, who's my producer, I'm looking at her now. Kinsey had this great idea. She said, well, why don't we wear ball gowns to commemorate the ball that Meghan wasn't able to go to? And they did. So both Kinsey and Samara, they look spectacular this week. So you've got to watch it for that alone. But you brought up on the show today, that we were filmed earlier today, and it's worth talking about. And I said, does Harry, he looks sad. He was desperate in that interview he gave a month or so ago to the BBC. Desperately sad, desperately lost. A man lost in America with no direction home, not talking to his dad. So you think, well, what is he going to do? He's got to do something. But what has he lost? what has he lost? He's obviously lost his incredible life here. He's lost the love of his family. He's lost his role in life, which was to be a popular princess. So he's lost all of that. But the meaningful things that were left after his bitter divorce from the royal family here, when he ran off to America with Meghan, lured away by Meghan, by the way, the meaningful parts of his life were this. It was the Invictus Games for wounded veterans, and for that we salute him. The Invictus Games are great. No one's going to criticise that. Well done, Harry, and well done for carrying on with it. But you also had Centre Bale, his charity in Africa, which was for mainly the kids of the victims of AIDS and HIV who'd lost their parents, but people who are still suffering from it. So it did great work in Africa about that. He's had that bitter falling out with them. He's left that, he's quit that. And then there's Africa Parks, his other charity, which is mired in scandal. You know, rangers who work for that charity accused of sexual crimes against local villagers, the extermination of elephants when it's not necessary. That charity's in a mess. So his two African charities that were very, very important to him, especially Centre Bale, he's lost that. He's lost them, he's quit them, and he's only got the Invictus Games left. That's not a full-time job. This guy's life is empty, isn't it?
Yeah, well, he still has African Parks charity, which frustrates me beyond all belief. I feel like he needs to take a stand there and say what's happening is absolutely unacceptable. And the fact that he doesn't, I think, shows I mean, we knew it, but what a weak man he is, that he won't come out and speak out against what's happened involving the African Parks scandals, multiple scandals, to your point. What does he have? I mean, he loves his babies. I know that he loves his babies. I know that he loves being a dad, but he doesn't have anyone that understands what it's like to be him anymore. Not even Meghan Markle. The person who he used to be able to pick up the phone and call and who understood all of it, whether it was the photographers hounding him or just the tradition and the history of the family that he had a hard time processing, Prince William, isn't going to talk to him anytime soon, if ever again, because Prince Harry and his wife attacked Catherine, the Princess of Wales. So I do think that he must be incredibly lonely. We see that he surfs sometimes. Sometimes he's out riding his bike and walking the dog. I'm sure that that's as fulfilling as you can get in 2 hours in a day. Hopefully he does find... What do you do for Better Up? That's the company that he allegedly gets like $1 million a year to not do very much for, right? Right. There's Better Up. And then there are reports that he's supposed to be coming out with some new commercial venture, and that royal insiders are already saying, well, it's likely going to jeopardize his relationship with his father even further, because what can he do commercially that he's not tying to the royal family with use of his name? Yeah, they're trading off their royal connections, which is exactly what Meghan's doing. And let's just talk for a bit, if we can, Kinsey, about this anomaly, this increasing anomaly that is emerging. So Meghan is taking more and more to posting pictures of her kids or bits of her kids, can't quite see the face, of course, and pictures of herself on Instagram, on social media. Meanwhile, one thing we know about Harry is that when these two launched their campaign to guard against online harm, where kids can get sucked into dark places and harmed by what they encounter online, usually in the privacy of their own bedrooms when their parents don't know what they're up to. They're downstairs, their kids are down in the dark web somewhere. So Harry, let's be fair, he's very worried about it. He's genuinely concerned. So about a couple of, 2-3 months ago, Meghan announced, I'm coming back to social media. She, on the same day that Tiggy Leg Burke, who is Tiggy Pettifer now, lost her, and that's Archie's godmother, as far as I've heard, that's Archie's godmother. She was the nanny to both Harry and William. She loses her stepson, and that's when Meghan Markle decides to relaunch her Instagram as Tiggy is grieving the death of her stepson in a terror attack in New Orleans. But yes, proceed.
What I was just going to say, well, it's a very good point. But how can the Sussexes, look, we're just watching them twerking now, twerking. It's every time you watch that, it's more painful, more excruciating. What are they doing? What do they think they're doing? But how can the Sussexes be taken seriously as they campaign against the harms or online harm when Meghan spends half her life online posting pictures of her kids and herself? It's an anomaly that I hear Harry finds extremely irritating. So, you know, for all his faults, he's genuine about this. Meghan doesn't seem to be quite so genuine, and I think her activity online completely undermines their campaign about online harm.
It does. And Prince Harry recently said in New York, "I'm glad my children are too young to be online." Well, have you looked online lately? They're on there, you know, they're on there likely against their will. They haven't given their consent, but they're on there celebrating their birthday at Disneyland or whatever, walking through the garden. They're out there, Prince Harry. No, I mean, it's a constant contradiction, isn't it? Here, today, I shouldn't say over in the States because I'm where you are right now. So today trending from Newsweek was Christopher Boozy chastising people, saying that they were bullying Meghan Markle over the twerking video. I mean, this is the same man that accused Catherine of faking her cancer, calling her cancer video like Korean propaganda. That is, how are you not harassing Catherine when she comes out and says she has cancer and you're belittling her or accusing her of lying about her cancer? So there's hypocrisy in everything that these two do. And once you recognize that, you have a hard time taking them seriously when it comes to anything they pursue, whether it's jam, whether it's a hotel, whether it's, campaigns to protect children. The problem with Harry and Meghan is there's no stability, there's no consistency, and they don't put their money where their mouth is. It's do as I say, not as I do.
One last question. She's talked, as you just implied there, Kinsey, about expanding as ever. Not sure what she's expanding it from. Selling a bit.
The fruit spread's a little thicker.
So she's expanding it from Scam Jam, and it says, or seems to be saying, she's going to go into the hotel business, Meg Inns, and also restaurants. Well, you know, you need to be damn good at business to make hotels work and restaurants. And the
Tiger Woods and Justin Timberlake, I think, just lost a ton of money on a restaurant that they went into together.
Yeah, and hotels, a vast investment now. If she really goes into all this, she's going to risk losing everything. Somebody should advise her.
So Trooping the Color is happening, and what's it like to see? You worked with King Charles when he was Prince Charles, that evolution. Are you proud of him as king, and do you think that he's been a good king?
Yeah, I'm very proud. I think he's doing an amazing job. I feel sorry for him.
Yeah.
That obviously losing parents is awful, and losing two in such a short space, which weirdly is what happened to me. It's because my parents died about the same distance, about a year and a half between each other.
I'm sorry.
And it's kind of life, isn't it? But it shocks you because it makes you think about your own life and your own mortality. You start kind of thinking about so many things. And I'm sure for him, losing his father would have been a shock. Losing his mother so soon after. But it's not just losing your parent. It's suddenly he gets that job, the monarch, which is, it's always said it's the job that, everyone's kind of said it's the job he wants, but it's not really, because you've got to lose your, one of the most important people in your life to get that job. So it's difficult. And since becoming king, he's had his own health battles within the first year. So he's had a tough time, but I think under the circumstances, he's doing an amazing job.
Absolutely. And Catherine, you met Catherine when we were meeting Catherine for the first time, except you were actually spent time with her. What's it like to see her grow up and be so gorgeous, sophisticated, a great, sweet mom, and a future queen? That is wild to me that one day she's going to be queen.
Do you know what's nice is the Catherine that I knew to the Catherine I see now is the same Catherine.
Oh.
No different. She was always polite, she was always friendly, she was always giggly, she was always fun, courteous. Everything you see is exactly what she was like. And again, you feel proud and kind of lucky that you get to spend time with them behind closed doors and get to know them. But it's equally strange, like with Troop and the Colour, when you stand in with the crowds as one of many and you look out and you see them and you think, well, I'm one of the few that actually got to spend time with them on their own. You do kind of pinch yourself, think, did that actually happen? And it's equally nice when they see me. I don't know if they still recognise me now, but when they have seen me in the past, then they come up and say hello to me, which is equally nice. But as I say, I don't quite know if that would happen now. I think they'd probably just walk past me and not even know it's me.
There you go, that's a handsome fella. When it comes to Catherine, you teach etiquette.
Yeah.
Did she just roll in and immediately know exactly how the game was played, or?
Yeah, there's this myth, a legend, that royals, or when you join the royal family, you learn, you go on a course to learn etiquette.
Yeah.
And I wish that was true, because I'd love them to come in my courses. That'd be amazing to have, somebody like that in one of my courses. It doesn't work like that. Yeah. They learn from their other halves. They learn from the family. They learn from the Queen Elizabeth, the King. That's how they learn. Even from my point of view as a member of the royal household, I had to learn etiquette and how to behave and how to act around them. And I learned from other staff members and from the family.
Well, so you did live training. There wasn't like a 2 weeks where you were an apprentice. Somebody said, you did that thing wrong, and then you had to tighten up and learn that way.
You learn the hard way. You make mistakes. Wow. You do things wrong, and you quickly learn, everything from when you meet them, what you're supposed to do, what you're not supposed to do. No, it's not that they don't tell you, they give you a guideline, but then you're never really sure. Yeah. And when you do have time, when you're on your own with them and you meet them, you're kind of thinking, do I do this? Do I not do this? Am I supposed to smile? Do I not smile? Do I walk backwards when I leave? Because that in the movies, you walk backwards. Yes. I'm thinking,
wait, is that real? Because that, oh, thank God.
It was, originally, there was positions in the royal household where you would walk backwards. Most of them, I believe, have been done away with because of health and safety reasons. I think there's still occasions, for example, if you go and receive an investiture or an award at the Palace or at Windsor, you will see people take a couple of steps backwards. So there's still, but only when it's safe to do so. But you don't have to now walk out a room the whole way reversing, thankfully.
Yeah, there are movies and TV shows where that happens. I think I'm thinking of like some Tudor-style movies or TV shows, and it's the entire room where and you're just like, that seems impossible and ridiculous. I don't know if I could humble myself enough to do that.
You've got to always have a reversing sensor on your back to know you're not going to walk into something as you go. But thankfully, those days are gone. But I still see people sometimes take a couple of steps backwards initially. It was back in the days when it was seen rude to turn your back on the monarch. Yeah. But this is a very different time. It was also when you weren't really allowed to have eye contact and those kind of things. Luckily, it's can you imagine that?
Sounds like a Hollywood set.
Yeah, it'd be a bit uncomfortable, I think, if you're with the royal and you had to follow those kind of rules. And thankfully, they're not that strict about it. They're not going to, if you forget to do something, you forget a bow or a curtsy or the handshake goes wrong. I mean, we even see people high-fiving them now, and they haven't been sent to the Tower of London. So I think
the Tower of London.
You're okay.
What did you make over the weekend? We discussed last week, towards the end of the week, didn't we? This sort of, even by Meghan's standard, this strange blizzard of activity on social media. Just every 3 seconds of something new, picture of her with a baby, the twerking video, how can we forget? And then over the weekend, suddenly they took Lilibet for her birthday, her 4th birthday, to Disneyland, and boy, oh boy, did we get all the details of that posted on Instagram. So why this ongoing almost assault on our senses. You know, Meghan, here I am, look, here's me twerking, here's me at the Disneyland with Lilibet, here's me with Harry, here's me with my jam, oh look, you can get some wine now. I mean, why this?
I'm opening a hotel.
Yeah, well, let's get on to, exactly, let's get on to that in just a minute. But why, is it because she's now talking about opening hotels and launching wine that she is assailing us with this social media onslaught? Is that what it's about?
Have you heard of the outlet Jezebel? It's very feminist. It's very, I'd say it's very left-leaning. They wrote a piece this week, and they have been, as far as I'm concerned, Meghan fangirls. And they wrote a piece this week absolutely destroying Meghan Markle about how she's stuck in 2016 in her influencer life, and they can't believe she gave up being a princess. They're like, there's not a lot of opportunities out there, and you gave up the opportunity to be a princess, to be this glorified Instagram binger. And they talked about the binging element, how it feels like she's, you know, somebody finally said, like the attorneys finally gave her the go-ahead, and she's just so obsessed there needs to be an intervention. But also just how everything is so curated to the point that there's nothing authentic about it, and it's all just very fake and unfun, and it's, you know, why follow her? So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Hear me out, because you were around and you saw this firsthand, along with the Rodney King stuff. When it comes to Princess Diana, she had this reputation for, I think now we call it manipulating the media, but at the time, she was strategizing constantly. She had to get one up on King Charles. So she'd whisper into Richard K's ear. Sometimes we actually saw her getting out of his car. But I think that Meghan thinks she is the second coming of Princess Diana, and she's trying to curate her own headlines. So she's overloading us so that people like you and I can't sit here for 2 weeks and talk about the twerking video. And I know I've seen the reports here that say it was, it was celebrated in the United States. Cringe, cringy, those are the words I saw in headlines from Page 6, the New York Post, American headlines.
Same as our reaction,
yes,
in other words, like
yes.
tacky, cringy, as you say, what on earth, vulgar.
Yes.
What do you think you're doing?
Yes.
For God's sake.
And so I don't believe that she is under the impression that went in her way, that was a huge success for her. I think that she thinks she's like Princess Diana and curating her own headlines, and she does things like the Disney vomit, like the just all to I think I sent you the pictures of Diana on similar rides, trying to recreate those moments. But I think that she does it so
weird.
She shuts down the twerking criticism. Now she's Mommy of the Year. But also, why do we get 30,000 posts for the daughter and 1 for the son? Like, clearly there's a favorite there.
Yeah, that's a good, I hadn't thought about that. But I read over the weekend, it was a very interesting piece in one of the papers saying that her view of this, she's now developed this antipathy towards Britain. She basically hates us over here.
Yeah, but she's going to sell tea.
Yeah.
She's going to use her title.
Well, we'll come on to that. It's going to be a bit difficult if you can't buy it over here, I'll tell you that. But we'll come on to that in a second. But she believes that we hate us, so she now, this is what the story said, is sort of reveling in sort of annoying the British haters. So she believes that because of the level of the response, the disgust we all had about the twerking video, she believes it's a great success. She thinks that twerking was really working for her. So, in other words, the worse she gets...
Let me just say this. I understand why she wasn't cast in the Shakira music video, okay?
Yeah, but yeah, no. So, don't go on Strictly Come Dancing, Meghan, anytime soon. And Harry, you even less, although it's only a matter of time. His descent is so rapid at the moment. But yeah, she's now reveling in winding us up. She enjoys annoying us. So there's a kind of strange warfare going on between the British people and Meghan Markle.
It's the same article that said she was under the impression that it was celebrated in the States. I don't know if she has a very specific TikTok algorithm, which she might, that might just be praise. So she's like looking at all these kids saying that she was so cute. But the headlines were critical. The headlines were that it was inappropriate. And does she do things to upset people? I think she does things to steal headlines, but I really do think she thinks she's cute in that video.
Yeah. But you said it last week. You actually hit the nail on the head so what I'm always doing when I talk to you and indeed other people, but mainly you, is I'm trying to find a meaning for what she does. It's just, why did Meghan do this? Why does she keep posting this? What the twerking? What's that about? She filmed it 4 years ago. Leave us alone. Why? And you know, so what I'm getting at is, it's a business plan. It's like a sales technique, which I think to an extent it is. But you, I think, hit the nail far more on the head when you said she's just addicted to being famous. She just wants to be talked about. I've seen it with so many people. They get hooked on headlines about themselves.
Well, think about it. She was here before she married Prince Harry, calling up publicists saying, can you set me up with somebody? Can you find me photographers that can take my photo as I enter and exit my hotels? What if I do theater here? Do you think if I did theater here, it could expand my brand? I mean, she was actively trying to become famous in the UK when she met Prince Harry. She was actively trying to be set up with famous men to elevate herself when she met Prince Harry. She has staged paparazzi shots of herself since before we knew her name, you know? And so when I look at things like that video, I think that's just, she wants the headlines, good or bad. I think that she's proud of herself if we're talking about her.
So in itself, she loves being talked about. She loves the fame game. But the spin-off from it is it might help her sell her products.
But will it?
Well, it may not, but there's obviously some kind of game plan in that direction. You know, make a noise, get talked about, maybe you can flog some stuff. So let's talk about that. So we had the jam and the cookies and all of that, which we tried some of, very average. And then she announces, I'm going to close As Ever down until at least next year because I need to work out what As Ever could be. As I said at the time, usually when people launch a business, they work out what it could be before they launch it.
It's called a PowerPoint presentation.
Exactly, not afterwards. But it's just as we're going, well, blimey, so she shelved it. Suddenly, as we discussed last week, suddenly on Instagram, all the stuff is back up on sale again. And now she's even expanding the remit, talking about launching a rosé wine, Chateau Meghan. That's my name for it. I'm not sure what she'll call it.
I can't say what I'd call it on your... I don't want to get in trouble.
Yeah. Chateau Meghan. She's also talking about opening hotels. Just massively widening the scope of the As Ever brand. I mean, so this time last week, she just said, I'm closing it. I'm going to see what it could be. This week, there's a hotel, or potentially hotels. There's wine. She's expanding it. What the hell's going on?
I think she has very unrealistic expectations for herself and for her success. But I also think, I think I texted you, bipolar, schizophrenia. I mean, and I'm not diagnosing this woman. I'm just saying, as an observer, she seems to have no clear goal other than fame and money. It just seems like she's throwing everything at the wall and trying to see what sticks.
Yeah, there's definitely an element of that.
And it's as a consumer, you completely lose trust in this woman when she says, I think I'm going to pump the brakes until 2026 and I'm trying to figure out what the future is. And then like less than 48 hours later, after telling Beyonce's mom you're taking a break and Fast Company magazine. It's not like she's whispering it and it's ending up in the Sun in small print. Somebody overheard her say it. She's making these announcements herself in Fast Company magazine in this glorified profile, which was like, I mean, I puked in my mouth. It was so it was so over the top generous to her. And then she's telling Beyonce's mom, I think I'm gonna hold up. And then Beyonce's mom's like, that's weird, but okay. And then days later, she's announcing, I changed my mind. How can you, as a consumer, trust this brand, trust this person, and feel any sort of investment in their success?
Does she think, in your view, that somehow or other, you know, we all went, oh, we're so disappointed she's closed as ever down and it won't rematerialise until at least next year. And then 3 days later we go, oh, brilliant, she's selling the jam again, or the scam jam as they call it, because it's not really jam. Oh my God, you can get the edible flowers again. We're so relieved, we're so happy. Oh, marvellous, even better, she's going to sell rosé wine and open a hotel. Does she think that that's the way we're responding, that somehow or other we were bereft when she said, I'm closing as ever down, but she secretly planned to suddenly announce, I'm not really. So we all go, wow, get the champagne out, or rather, get the Meghan Markle rosé out to celebrate. Is that what she thinks, do you think?
Well, the luxury bags under my eyes are actually all the sleepless nights I've had since she killed American Riviera Orchard. I still haven't recovered since she killed American Riviera Orchard. No, I mean,
didn't believe me, did you, when I said that would never happen? I remember you saying, oh, I think it'll come in. I said, no.
Well, I mean, the thing is, she was immediately attached to Netflix. And can you believe, I mean, truly, can you believe that Netflix allowed such a pivot? That Netflix was like, oh, okay, we're not going with that thing we've promoted for the last 12 months. Yes. Okay, we're going to change the name, and then still, and I know she's tried to explain it away, but the fact that this is a Netflix entity that doesn't even share the same name as the television show that it's built around. It's not With Love Flower Petals. It's not With Love Cookies. With Love Meghan Cookies, it's as ever. It's as ever. Like, she chooses this brand. Nothing she does makes sense, and it's not in an innovative way where I think 10 years from now we're going to sit back and go, what a genius. I think 10 years from now we're going to sit back and go, think of all the time we wasted talking and thinking about that woman.
Well, I mean, that's like I always say. People say, oh, why are you so obsessed with her? I wouldn't say I'm obsessed with her. I'm just I find her interesting.
It's fascinating to watch somebody make so many poor decisions.
Yeah, the two of them. They are both a sort of kind of a wrong decision-making machine, aren't they?
And some might listen to what we've just described and say she's not an honest person. And I think, again, like a lot of the stuff we do is holding them accountable. I firmly believe that they were dishonest about a royal racist within the family. But you might argue that saying that you sold out in 45 minutes is dishonest if you only had 10 pots of jam. Yeah. And you might argue that saying you're going to, shut down shop until 2026, and then a few days later you make the announcement that you're back in a business, you might argue that that's being dishonest. I almost called Meghan, well, I wouldn't do it because I'm a little bit more respectful than this, but like the thought crossed my mind to refer to her as the Instagram loving wife, the title from that South Park episode. It's meaner than what I just said, but it's so funny how many people have approached me over the last week, Rupert, and we'll get to Harry and Meghan later, but it's so funny how many people have approached me this last week after the twerking video to be like, did South Park predict all of this? Is South Park coming to life?
It was when that dropped. I think you sent it to me.
I did. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm thinking, and because I've sort of been doing derbies and all that sort of stuff, and then it comes to me and I think, is this a parody? Is this a joke? Are we sure? And then obviously it transpires that twerking video was absolutely true. And it beggared belief. And I know we've got plenty more to talk about them later on, but it certainly over here in the UK, even though they're sort of defending it over there, aren't they? Saying, "Yeah, everybody happy." It's only in the UK that we are stunned by this. I mean, I just think it was the tackiest, most ignorant thing to post on someone's, but on the birthday of your child. You
And
know
is
why?
anybody gonna mention the fact that like Archie gets like one picture, the back of his head, but for Lily, we like we tried to make it a national holiday, 4 grid posts. Like, did Lily and what? I mean, why is Lily the second coming? It's clear that she's the favorite child, and that's so awful for poor Archie. Archie's probably already like, I'm over this family.